folks. My name is Chris Cochran, and it's great to have you joining us. With me is Karl Rautenstracuch with Microsoft. Karl, introduction.
Hey, Chris, thanks very much for having me here. It's always awesome to talk to you. And yeah, folks, I'm a principal program manager with the Azure storage team and really focus on our customer needs and aligning partnerships to meet those needs.
Great, Karl. Today, we wanted to share a little bit about the Azure File Migration Program. Karl's the architect behind this, and we really enjoy the opportunity to talk about this. But Karl, I just wanted to ask you, kind of give us some of the insights into the background of the program, and then how it aligns into the overall Microsoft Azure strategy.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I'm a former customer myself and had to focus on several different data migrations, really, across three companies that I worked with as a customer. So I know the pain firsthand of moving critical business data from one location to another, one storage array to another, and not much has changed over the last 20 years in terms of the challenges that customers face in this space. And I've seen that as well in this role. Folks here know my background. I've been with the company for 9 years. I get engaged by customers, by our account teams on a frequent basis to help consult on how they can best move their data to Azure. And one problem that consistently kept cropping up, something that we saw through our support organization, these direct customer engagements, through our large SI partnerships, was difficulty in moving file data from NAS platforms or object storage platforms to Azure. The traditional tools like rsync or robocopy just really break down when you start to move dozens to hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of data from one site to another, much less to a public cloud. So we needed to provide a means for our customers to use a reliable mechanism, reliable tooling, safe and trusted tooling to perform that type of migration. And we created a little bit of a problem for ourselves and our partners in that we've been offering tools in the form of the Azure Migrate portfolio for several years now that are free to use. So fantastic tools. They're fully automated. They're really easy to use without a heck of a lot of documentation to read or things to learn or training classes to attend, and they're free. So finding a way to meet their needs and meet their expectations for what a service like that would cost is something that I took on over the course of the last year and had the great pleasure of working with Data Dynamics to bring something really appealing to our customers to help solve this real problem.
That's great. More importantly, the experience, Karl. So you've been there, you know what works, and now you're applying that into the real world. That's really good experience, and I'm sure the rest of the world's probably had those experiences as well. I've oftentimes said every migration that I've walked into turns out to be a science project because you've just got to figure it out every step of the way. That's great. Thanks for that background. So I guess what led Microsoft to select Data Dynamics Storage X as one of these participants?
So Data Dynamics has just a great lineage in the industry. I mean, I've been familiar with Data Dynamics for well over 15 years now. I've seen many successful projects firsthand. And we needed partners who had not only that history and that lineage of delivering successful migration solutions to customers, but also a breadth of supported source and target platforms. Because really, we have customers bringing file data to Azure from a number of different enterprise NAS platforms, file servers running directly on Windows or Linux NFS exports that are based on a Linux NFS server, and increasingly object storage platforms, whether it's S3 compliant storage in a public cloud or S3 compliant platforms on premises. So when data can come from a number of different sources, we wanted to provide our customers with tools that could provide really a one ring to rule them all, Swiss Army knife kind of kind of approach, right? And that's really what Data Dynamics has with Storage X. Heterogeneous support, depth of expertise to help customers successfully migrate their environments.
Boy, that's exactly right. The Swiss Army knife, I love that analogy because, gosh, everybody's environment is complicated and everybody's environment has had years of background run to create all those complicated configurations. And we do navigate through those quagmires and getting those solved. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, the more tools you have to use as a customer, the more risk you introduce. If you can't follow a common process, if you can't use a common unified tool set, you just open up to the opportunity to make mistakes. And that is something we really see Storage X as being able to help customers avoid.
Boy, I agree completely. So customers today, right, they're looking to do migrations in massive scale and large amounts of data into Azure. They have tight deadlines. How important does it become for an enterprise to select a technology that can then scale to meet the needs of the scale, the complexity and speed, and often timelines that they have? What's your purview?
Yeah, wow. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head there when we have customers engaged in migration programs or migration projects. Uh, there is always pressure from up on high to complete those projects as soon as possible. You need to see, you want to see the benefits from cloud as quickly as possible. You want to be able to scale up compute and scale it back down as soon as possible to see the economic benefits and the time to value and the time to results as quickly as possible. So when the data that supports those applications lags behind, it slows down the entire process. And really that's an area where in particular those kind of scripted do-it-yourself modes of migrating file data break down really quickly. It's difficult to multi-thread. It is extremely difficult to troubleshoot and pick up where you left off if something fails in the process. I can't tell you how many times I've seen customers kick off a long migration process and a server gets rebooted because of an update. And now you've got to reconcile where you left off, you got to pick back up, and that is incredibly time consuming. So having a tool like Storage X that not only can scale out the copy engines in order to fill a pipe and migrate data as quickly as possible, and yet offer controls and boundaries so that you're not overrunning your connection or your source array during business hours, is incredibly powerful and useful. And then to have it operate in a fully automated manner where you set and forget and it picks back up after a copy engine is rebooted from the latest Windows or Linux update or whatever it may be, is just so valuable. It just makes life easier and reduces the man hours and manpower needed.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of experience coming through, and
A lot of
certainly
pain and suffering.
we know the complications of those migrations and the time to value that you indicated is incredible. You have data center evacuations, which have financial penalties. You have optimizing, storage and getting it to the cloud, and having the flexibility once it's there, plus the availability of all the other Azure resources that can be applied to your data inside of Azure, the AIs and the MLs. I mean, those are incredibly valuable to customers today. So yeah, I can just tell that's perfect.
Absolutely. And Chris, I think of a story that we share with a mutual customer who had a data center exit. So not only do you have management who wants to see the benefit of the cloud, you've got a hard deadline where that data center is not yours anymore, 9 months down the road. And we see a lot of migration to cloud coming from data center exits. And this particular customer under that 9-month deadline had had hundreds of terabytes to migrate. 6 months into that project, still ran into challenges and issues with failure after failure, and really hadn't successfully completed that file migration. And to see Data Dynamics come in with Storage X and complete that migration, hundreds of terabytes in
Yeah.
27 days,
Yes.
is just I mean, right? Nothing says it better than that. That is a real world anecdote and story that, we share with a mutual customer.
Yeah, Carl, I remember the 4 a.m. call I received from one of their leaderships, one of the leaders there at that organization, that mutual customer of ours. And she asked me specifically, can you solve this? And I quickly went to guns, and we quickly realized how StorageX was an invaluable tool to getting that data into Azure. And boy, it turned out to be a success story beyond. And we've even share a joint win wire off of that, because what started off as a real big problem, and it turned out to be probably one of the most successful initial migrations, which has turned into the exposure to other products, which was in the analytics phase that they've now taken advantage of as well. And they've proliferated that across their estate, and they're beginning to see areas where the data is now being monetized in a useful manner. And that's another classic example.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. So, hey, do you see any common issues that customers face when migrating to Azure? What added long-term value, and how Data Dynamics can prove and provide that value to them.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a great segue from our last part of the conversation there. Not uncommon that there's a lack of visibility into what lives in your data estate. I mean, I was certainly not immune to this as a storage administrator, enterprise architect. You don't know what your end users are doing. You don't know who's creating content, who's copying content, who's taking ownership of content when somebody leaves the company. So having deep insights into what data you have, who has access to it, and when it was last accessed is just invaluable, and something that far too few people have. So the fact that Data Dynamics has a broad portfolio that spans outside of this program and can add distinct value for customers in the long run is just huge. And I think of Insight Analytics, that solves that problem, that visibility and awareness problem. I think of DD's ongoing replication capabilities. There are many reasons why certain data sets cannot yet move to Azure. And one of the most common ones is you're still paying for the equipment that data lives on. I mean, really, very bad idea generally to leave equipment on the floor that you're still paying for unused. So we have customers who can't yet migrate, but know that's where they want to go when that lease cycle or support life cycle ends. So using Data Dynamics capabilities to replicate data on a continuous basis is something that has tremendous value to customers as well. It gives me that exit path, and it also gives me a viable disaster recovery platform as well. And that's a really common use case that we see for customers who are making the transition to Azure, is first using Azure as a disaster recovery site, because you have not only a copy of your data there, but you have the capability to spin up machines on demand. I can spin up servers and desktops as needed. I can use Azure Site Recovery to replicate server instances, so I have a warm standby ready for me in the event of a disaster. And StorageX and Data Dynamics are just a great, great complement to help customers protect their unstructured data the same way they can protect their virtual machines and their end user platforms. So fantastic value add. No reason for customers to only engage with Data Dynamics during the migration. Customers should also look at those other solutions outside of this program to provide real value across their data estate.
Boy, couldn't say it any better. You got the real world examples, and the customers that we speak to almost daily haven't faced these problems, just like you've quantified and classified here together with us today. So, Karl, it's been amazing to get this time together. Any closing thoughts with us?
Really, this is a great opportunity for folks to evaluate how they are using the cloud, how they could use the cloud, and for our partners, for those solution integrators who work directly with both of us to evaluate the way that they're advising customers on seeking value from Azure. So I think it's just a great opportunity to learn more. Take a look at the resources that we've put together. Go to your favorite search engine, check out the Azure File Migration Program, look at the assets on both Data Dynamics and Microsoft sites, and don't hesitate and don't delay to find another fantastic way to use what we both bring to the table to add value to your business and to become a hero. Be an IT hero.
Yeah, boy, well said. Karl, I want to thank you. Uh, this has been a great opportunity just to get some insights. Your real world experience really comes through, and we really value the time together. So, we're going to thank you for this time together. Folks, if you have any questions for us, please don't hesitate to reach out. Simplest way to do that is to reach out at azure@datdyn.com. That's DATDYN.com, and we will respond immediately and provide you that white glove services that you'll expect as we're beginning to embark on this Azure file program. Okay, thank you all and have a great day.